All right, guys, some good news. Okay, as I previewed before, we have election number 2 at another Amazon facility on Staten Island. That voting begins this morning. My understanding is it will complete this week, so we may know by the end of the week whether the new Amazon labor union will go 2 for 2. I do think this is, I don't think we should take this for granted whatsoever. It's a very different facility. As Chris Smalls told me and has said publicly, it's a sorting facility. You have a lot more part-timers, so the concerns are different. That's a much more difficult workforce ultimately to organize. Also, because this may not even be their main bread and butter, they may have 2 other jobs, but another job, something else that is their sort of main source of income. So there are a lot of challenges here, not to mention, of course, Amazon's over-the-top union busting, which reportedly they ramped up considerably after the stunning victory at JFK 8, the Staten Island warehouse. So big news from yesterday is now the left politicians are fully engaged in the fight now that they have seen that this is a live issue and that Chris Smalls and Derek Palmer and all the rest of the folks at Amazon Labor Union are in fact capable of winning. Let's put this up on the screen. We had Bernie and AOC. They're on the ground in Staten Island. Still not in her district, interestingly, Saagar.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. But listen, let me just say this. Because obviously, I got into a back and forth with AOC, who was sort of trying to, take a little bit of credit for the initial win when she had not only not been involved, but she'd actively stood these workers up and she pushed back of like, this isn't even in my district. This is all I wanted. Look, I'm glad to see her show up and engage in the fight now. And we have to provide some accountability to these politicians. And this is not coming from me. This is from Chris Smalls. Typically, the only consequence would be on the other side. If she did show up and then it ended up in some sort of like embarrassing defeat, that would be the consequence. Should be worried about, does this damage my credibility and my strength and my brand, all of those things. So if you push back when they don't show up, you have to have some consequences and some costs on the other side for failing to back workers and stand up and support them in the first place. So I am very glad to see that she has joined this fight. They said ultimately, Derek Palmer had a great quote here. He says, starting this movement in the beginning, we did not have the support that we do now. And now that we won, I'm just glad that everyone's finally waking up and realizing the power that we have. We've woken the country up, and I want us to continue on this journey, Saagar.
Yeah, and luckily, thanks to our new partnership with Jordan Sheridan, we have some exclusive footage of an interview with Derek Palmer. Let's take a listen.
After the win, it's been a historical win. A lot of workers are now motivated. They've come to me congratulating me, text, email, calls, so I think the tide is definitely shifting after that win. The labor movement, was kind of asleep, and now it's definitely awakened for sure. And now we're getting that support from the community as well. And workers actually want to get involved with organizing now, which is the goal. So I only see it spreading like wildfire throughout the United States.
I wanted to ask you, because Bernie had mentioned when he spoke that before he spoke, you guys privately met, and he was surprised. He didn't know the full extent of the union busting. Do you think a lot of the politicians kind of like maybe know some bad things are going on, but don't know like how bad in terms of the threats, retaliation?
Yeah, they hear the stories, but it's nothing like being on the grounds, talking to workers, so they can really get the full scope of what's going on here.
And obviously there was some criticism of AOC, kind of flaked on you during the campaign. What does it say to you that she showed up? Because obviously a lot of people are saying, oh, she's trying to ride their coattails, but I think it's helpful to actually winning to have her out here today.
Yeah, I mean, like AOC gets a lot of scrutiny, but it was all the politicians, let's be real, who didn't show up. But now that they're here, they're motivated. And ultimately AOC wants what's best for workers, as well as Bernie Sanders. So their support here means a lot. And moving forward, they're all in. We had a nice conversation back there at the Hilton, and they want to support 110%.
Hey, I'm with Charles. You're a supporter of Amazon Labor Union.
Yeah.
I've covered this for about a year. I've never seen so much press and support here. Can you kind of talk about what got you involved with supporting the workers here? And what did you think of Bernie and AOC speaking?
I think this speech was right on time. For me, I am a rep with a union called the UE, United Electrical Radio and Machine Workers of America. I'm based in Virginia, so we came all the way up here on Thursday of this past week to help support. So we've been doing phone banking. We've been out in the parking lot talking to workers and all that. And right now, for me, I'm actually helping organize city workers down there. So the struggle is real and it's across the board. So we recognize that a victory for Amazon is a victory for the labor movement as a whole. Same with Starbucks and all these other places.
Andy Jassy, who's Amazon's CEO, don't fool it. Bezos is still driving the bus. But Andy Jassy was on CNBC after the victory here. He said a place like Amazon empowers employees. If they see something they could do better for customers or for themselves, they could just go meet in a room, decide how to change it, and change it. You guys, you didn't have to do this. All you had to do was go meet in a room and change it yourselves.
No, I mean, that's ridiculous. It's bullshit, frankly. I mean, we had a number of meetings with Felipe, with assistant managers to try to get things changed. I mean, this whole thing started, right, with Chris's walkout. Before he led the walkout, he was trying to meet with managers every day. He was in HR office every day trying to just get them to make changes about COVID or just tell people that COVID was being spread around, and they wouldn't do it. So, I mean, these CEOs and bosses, like, they can go on the news and spread all the lies they want, but the workers know the truth.
Yeah, I mean, that idea that, oh, you could have just talked to
That was
us.
so weird,
We would have
yeah.
totally listened and
Yeah.
addressed your... Come on. It's so silly and ultimately ridiculous. Great footage from Jordan, by the way. And if you guys missed the beginning of the show when we announced this, so Jordan Status Co, new Breaking Point's partner. He's going to be giving us more exclusive footage from his trips on the road. He also does great investigative journalism. Very excited about being able to add that piece to the ecosystem here. And you can see how valuable it ultimately is to actually hear from the workers who made this victory possible and how they feel ultimately about all of this. There's been a lot of debate over maybe it wasn't a bad thing ultimately that the politicians didn't show up the first time around because they were able to kind of sneak under the radar. It was able to not be a partisan thing. But we also have to respect the fact the workers themselves see this as very helpful and very energizing.
Look, it's up to them. They get to decide what they think is helpful and what is not helpful. I do think personally it was a benefit to them in the first one. This one is going to be different. We'll see how it goes. Oh, I think voting is starting right now, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so it's
right.
like-
Voting starts right now.
Right, it's literally happening right now.
Right now.
We'll find out. Yeah, it's 9:01 when we're filming this, so you guys can get a little peek behind the scenes. So we will see how it plays out.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.